Cool. Well, on behalf of WIDR Kalamazoo, I welcome Plastic Picnic here today. I spelled Plastic Picnic wrong in my interview question, so that's cool. Currently, we got Emil and Lincoln with us. There's two other dudes that are not on the call. It's Marshall and no, Lincoln's here. Gordon.
Yep.
My
Marshall and
bad.
Gordon.
Marshall and Gordon. Word. So welcome, of course. I got a couple icebreaker questions for you guys. Um, so just starting off, each of you can tell a little snippet of how your two separate projects came together to be Plastic Picnic, except I don't know if you guys were in the same projects together. I saw like the um, bio on your artist page and just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And some light into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lincoln and I were in a band in college and just kind of like close friends in college. And then Marshall and Gordon, who played drums and bass, were friends even before that. I think they kind of grew up in grade school a little bit together, but then they also played music together in projects in the Northwest. And then
Mm-hmm.
the funny part, I guess, was that we just really didn't meet each other. Lincoln and I moved to New York separately from them. And then a mutual friend kind of put us in touch because we were looking for more guys to start a band with. And then there
Yeah.
happened to be two guys that, ballpark, same place.
Right.
And it worked out. So, yeah,
Weird. And
Lincoln
then
frozen again.
yeah, you're good. And Lincoln, anything to add to that?
No, yeah, like, it was just kind of like serendipitous, and it worked out. It
Yeah,
was, it was. We kind of called it like a blind date that went really well because
I like
we just
that. Yeah.
Gordon just showed up and like sat down and played drums, and we were like, well, this works. And then he was like, well, my best friend's here and he plays bass, and we're like, well, that's just like perfect. So
Boom, band.
Yeah,
Like all
it
done.
was very
yeah,
Perfect.
ideal.
Yeah. Seems
We
like
feel
it.
pretty lucky in that category.
Yeah, for sure. Shoot, my brain is gone again. I was just gonna ask one more thing about that. Did you guys all grow up in the Pacific Northwest? 'Cause I saw a little bit about that. I was just curious on that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm from Idaho, but I went to school in Washington, and those guys
Mm.
are all from Washington, so we all kind of were in the same circles over there.
Gotcha. And then you kind of
yeah,
migrated over to the New York region. Sounds
we
like
did.
Yeah.
that's rad. Super rad.
And now all of
Um,
us are back in the Pacific Northwest, I guess, except for Gordon. So for the
gotcha.
time being, for
For this foreseeable future,
COVIDcation.
go vacation. Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. If you guys have been like, because I saw you guys released a single relatively recently. Have you been like working on new material virtually, or how's that going about, if at all?
Yeah, we were all kind of writing quite a bit right before, or kind of right as, I guess, this all happened. Um, so we've all kind of taken those seedlings to different places and have been working on them through like email and text. But it's um it's all been very like piecemealed, I guess, where everyone kind of is starting their own songs and then we're sending them, and some songs are like a little bit further down the um
Rabbit hole, if you will.
yeah, rabbit hole. And then
Yeah.
but we're also like, we don't have a record to commit to, we don't have like a
Mm-hmm.
date to commit to, so it's kind of like there's an anxiety in that, but it's also been really nice because I think we're all just kind of writing. And I actually didn't work on music for like 2 full weeks when I got home, and that was by far the longest I've gone without kind of opening up
Yeah.
uh, uh like Ableton in probably like
Way
five
too
years.
long. Yeah.
So that was like actually really nice.
Well,
um but yeah, I think we're all just kind of writing and sending stuff, and we're all just eager to get together because it's kind of, we like thrive and in working independently from each other sometimes, but then we also like really crave the hyper collaborative aspect, and I think
Yeah.
that combination is when like plastic stuff is the best. So it's been hard to
Right.
not have the latter half of that kind of
For sure.
smoothie.
And Lincoln,
yeah.
any thought? Yeah.
No, just kind of the same thing. Like, I think most bands are getting used to working remotely, and we're lucky that we're just now getting to the point where we're more comfortable with that. Like, people have
Mm-hmm.
more home studio setups, and are figuring out how to like produce music at home better. But Yeah, it kind of hurts to not be able to play live, but it's also an okay time because
Right.
and when I say play live, I really mean like I was talking about writing live, like in a rehearsal space, but also to play
Yeah.
live. Um, but it's a good time to like step back and focus on songwriting kind of separately, break things down, and yeah, just like write 100 songs.
Yeah. Just, and the ones that don't work, that's okay. You got, 90 other ideas, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever. I think I said that backwards, but it's fine.
I think the isolation is actually, I think, like, is just gonna force people to discover new things. Like today, we were all excited actually in our like band group text. Gordon, who plays drums, like sent an entire song that he like sang and recorded on, and that was like kind of the first time we've seen him do that. So
Yeah.
that's like really exciting to all of us because we're like, whoa, a Gordon song, and everybody's gonna kind of be pushed into new corners, just being isolated and not really like relying on each other's influence. Because I think we
Yeah.
all we all like lean on each other's strengths when we're together instead of kind of like indulging in our own sometimes, you know. So I think it's been
Right.
fun to see everyone kind of um
Like locked
kind of
in.
go off into their own rabbit hole, because I think that could make
Mhm.
more interesting things once we bring them all together.
Yeah. So that's very interesting you bring that up. So you guys work kind of independently. In the past, like pre-COVID, did you kind of come up with your own ideas independently as well, and then come into the studio space together, or was it more of like a mix of those two things? Sorry, that's like kind of vague, but
No, no,
uh,
go ahead, Lincoln.
I'd say yeah, it makes sense. Like we always, I mean, initially wrote things live in the space together, so it was interesting um stepping back for like the last record and doing more things kind of pieced out in recording in like our rooms or in separate houses. We kind of worked in both ways. We work really collaboratively and just kind of like fill in what needs to be filled in on a song or an idea that we all really
hmm
like. um
yeah,
but it's definitely like a really shifting process. Like it's always, we're always like learning or hearing something different, like, wait, can we process the drums instead of live drums, or can we like process
right.
this, or should we replace that? Can we do it ourselves, or do we have to like have a producer do it? Yeah, it's always like a learning process. So definitely the quarantine is a really big learning process,
It's an
piece of that.
adjustment, but it's also, I think, yeah, like you said, there's just kind of that new creative workflow that you're able to, you know, get out that you normally wouldn't have the time for.
Yeah,
When you're all in
totally.
a room together and just kind of like, bouncing off each other's collaborative like prowess or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, Gordon's coming in, so I'm gonna admit him
Oh, nice.
on the spot.
Hey.
You're
Where is he at?
there we
There he
go. Perfect.
is. Hops
Connecting.
on.
Yours looking nice.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Gordon. We were just talking about
How's it
the
going?
song you made.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general, just about your guys' like independence from each other in terms of like songwriting lately. And I don't know if you wanted to chime in on that a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool to see that. Like, usually we get like all the ideas get to like everybody pulls the band a little bit in their own direction when we're together in a practice space. So you see that in like a lot smaller ways, and now we're getting like kind of pulling farther a little bit. But then there's
Mhm.
usually when as soon as we all start working on something together, we find a middle ground. It seems like so. It's kind of
Yeah,
exciting. I think it might lead to just greater variety with our stuff.
for sure. Another one, I know you guys kind of, for the most part, grew up in the Pacific Northwest, or you went to college in that region. And I was just curious if there were any like differences between the musical leanings or styles of that general scene, or whatever you want to call it, in the Pacific Northwest versus kind of the New York region, and if that has changed your sound in any ways or shape or form.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, I think that maybe the most like cliche, but our go-to example will just be like the Northwest being like more lyrical emo music, like a la Modest Mouse or Death Cab and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
comparing that to this like kind of gritty New York rock, like the Strokes or the Walkmen. Um,
Mhm.
so I feel like for me, there was a big lyrical switch. I think where I was really into just like literal grit lyrics instead of like metaphorical lyrics
Right.
that like maybe whatever like a Northwest indie emo band would sing about.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, I think that in both coasts, I guess you could say, I think that we all find like a lot of middle ground musically, between the two. Um,
Yeah.
at least like staple bands. Like I think we like bands like the National or New York band, but you could argue that maybe like their lyrical content is a little bit more like moody than your average
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
rock band or something. So yeah, I don't know. I think that, I guess to answer your question, yes, they're kind of two different scenes and aesthetics, but I think that we kind of have used both those inspirations um to kind of juxtapose on each other, and um
Right.
they both add to what I think our sound is in an interesting way.
Right, especially since you guys kind of have the polar, not even polarizing. Yeah, like you said, just juxtaposition between the two regions, and you know, combining that, I guess,
Yeah,
in the
and
simplest form.
I think more of that's going to happen too. Like Gordon was just saying too, where I think that like I think we were very, when we first started, we were very keen on making every song sound like both, and not,
Oh, okay.
and now it's kind of, I feel like that maybe that's like songwriting maturity and other things, but I feel like we're not really as afraid of variety, and I think you saw on the last EP where we're like
Hmm.
okay with having a slow song, and I think the next kind of collection of songs would involve, like everything from like a kind of stripped acoustic or piano song to like a full on synth dance track. Like I think we're a lot more okay with having like that inspiration representation being like a lot more spread out.
We'll switch gears a little bit now to I'm just curious about each person's favorite album or song that has come out this year from other artists or parties or bands, or I don't even know.
Got mine ready. Uh, our friends in Texas just dropped an album or a
Yes.
song. The band's called Deep Cuts, and they just dropped a song called Chemicals that we had like the stream of the private link to like a year ago or something. And
Ooh, VIP.
I definitely fell like hardcore in love with that song, and then I think a lot of people did. We were just waiting for them to release it, and it took forever. It's got to be the right time for a
Yeah.
release. But yeah, we were just super stoked that song just got let out into the world.
Yeah, that
So
one's
good.
amazing.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Who else?
And I'm trying to think of like what I've been
I
listening
could
listening
go. I mean, I was gonna say the same one as Lincoln, so
That's
um,
okay.
so that would probably be my number one. But I was gonna say the new Phoebe stuff I've really liked. I
Yeah.
didn't love the second single as much, but the first and the third being the one that just came out, both
Yeah.
those both like just hurt real good.
Are real good.
So I'm really excited for that whole record. I think it's going to be like just really special, and I
For
like
sure.
really appreciate her like lyrics, kind of more than any songwriter I think right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if Deep Cuts wasn't around, then Phoebe for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I I don't know. I've been listening to so many different things lately. Just I've gotten into drum and bass lately for some reason. I don't know.
Whoa.
Yeah, and usually I'm like in, R&B, blues, metal, like all kinds of different stuff. But yeah.
Cool.
I've been listening to a lot of like deep drone music.
Yeah.
Like I've been, there's like or like things like library tapes. I've
Yeah.
been going through them a lot and just kind of like very like patient post rock kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's, like it works well for me to just slow my brain down.
Yeah. And just like, no, that's perfect. Like just zoning out a little bit
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
like, yeah, like this is the time to do that, to kind of stop fixating on everything and just being like, all right, chill out,
Yeah.
brain.
And there's something like weird about like I don't know. Like I don't know. I listened to like the new Strokes album that came out,
Yep.
and like that was really fun. It was kind of interesting to see how like it's funny because they've been like such a big influence on kind of like the whole like New York like indie
Mhm.
scene for a while, but then you also can hear like pieces of other things like you get some of the like dive and like Beach Fossil style sounding guitar making its way
Yeah,
back, which is really interesting.
circulating.
That's been like fun to listen to, but I get a lot of times like music like that just makes me like too energetic, and I'm like, I want to
Yeah,
go out and do stuff, and so I have to like bring it back to something really quiet.
yeah. Maybe like working out or something would be the
Yeah,
best time to channel
exactly.
that.
Yes.
Um, the weird thing though sometimes is like I'll listen to more up tempo stuff like that, or I mean up tempo, but just more energy, and yeah, like I'll like sleep to it sometimes. It really just depends. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
That is true.
to each their own.
I can relate what you just said, Gordon, too, though, because I feel like I like just get too like bummed when I've been listening to the Strokes or whatever, just because not being in New York, and like also
Yeah.
springtime in New York is like the best time in New
Mhm.
York. So it's just like right before I left, it was so weird it being that time, like that everyone has been like surviving through the winter, and you're waiting for like everything to pour out onto the streets and everyone to be like happy and outside, and then you just like couldn't do that. And
Yeah,
the Strokes were just kind of like, it was like this tease. That record was like this tease of what you can't do in New York, you know?
it's like here's what could have happened had COVID not happened. Like
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah, exactly.
um,
It's like it sounds like a soundtrack to an alternate reality or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that should have been the album title.
Yeah.
Julian Casablancas would have loved that.
Oh, I'm
He had some. I
sure.
know there was like something where like he's described he wanted their like first music to sound like a tape found from like the future, found in a gutter or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like right up his alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soundtrack to an alternate reality.
There you go.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, we were talking about juxtaposition earlier and all of those things. I'm just curious. In the Facebook bio that you guys have, it says it's sad music to dance to. Was there creative intent behind creating a broader brand, so to speak, with this juxtaposition of emotions, or where do you each try to channel that in your playing, or I don't know?
I think it naturally comes out because like we all have a big soft spot for like really sad music. Like my favorite band would be like The National, and then we listen to like Phoebe or Mitski and things like that a lot that are like very like down, like sad, emo kind of music. But then
Right.
whenever we are around each other, we end up just being like really silly and having a lot of fun, and we can't really help ourselves. So
Yeah.
it ends up being like there's like a serious element of music that we like set out to try and create, but then also can't help but have fun with it, and then it just turns into something more upbeat anyway. But then there's still like the initial content or like the ideas behind it that are maybe like a little more serious. So we
Yeah.
just decided to kind of like try and embrace that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that I think that sums it up perfectly. Um, because yeah, like if you're all downers when you're playing, like I get it. Sometimes there are amazing records that are crafted when everyone's kind of down, and it's just like, oh no, like the world's falling apart. But yeah, like you said, if you're in a collaborative workspace where you're upbeat and it's just like a good time, then yeah, like go for it.
I think that question kind of relates back um, to yeah, I guess like inspiration of the West and East Coast bands and stuff. An emo band, but I also don't want to be like an '80s dance band. Like
Yeah.
I want to be able to do both. So I think that's like, I think that's funny too, because that line was like something that just stuck in press. I think the sad music to dance to thing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. I don't necessarily think that like defines us, because I want songs that are sad songs to just be sad too. But
Yeah.
I think that it's cool to be able to do both. And I think that the sad music to dance to thing, I think, is just escapism in general. And
Yeah.
I think that's like really necessary right now, where I think that it's people need pop music right now. People need songs where they can kind of ignore
Familiarity. Yeah.
what sucks, to feel better. So I think that maybe that's like, I don't know, contemporarily, um, makes sense for people right now,
Right.
having music that they can listen to and be sad about, or if they just kind of ignore the words, they can like dance down the beach and be fine. I think
Yeah.
being able to do both is like important for mental survival.
Absolutely. Like focusing, yeah, focusing too much on either part is just, you need the balance, the ability to see like,
Yeah,
oh,
very important.
here's what they're saying, and also like, stepping aside from that and like, okay, I can dance to this now or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. And then yeah, some final parting thoughts, just general advice any of you guys would give to those contemplating musical collaboration. How would you go about it again if you were to do it? Just general thoughts on that.
Lincoln, look like you
I
see
think,
something sparking over there.
yeah, I guess I'm sparking. I think a big like progression throughout all of our like career as a band or our individual careers as musicians is just having confidence and in like embracing what you're doing, and feeling like that's worthwhile or not second guessing it. To some degree, it's going to have to like adapt and shift to just grow. But I think it's just a lot of it is allowing yourself to go further and further into whatever styles already exist within yourself. And I've heard artists like St. Vincent talk about that as well. Obviously, someone who's like really out there and like really dove into like her niche sound and found that. And I think that's definitely something that I'm always kind of reviewing or thinking about as we like go further into like music. And then that comes into play when you work with other people, because you're kind of like you understand more of like what you're bringing to the table and how you can kind of intermix with everyone else's sounds.
Yeah, I like that answer a lot. Gordon, Emil? Or Emil?
Yeah, no, go for it.
I think I think what goes in kind of in hand with what Lincoln was saying too is then just like when you are collaborating, understanding that like there's the confident, like bringing something with confidence to a group, but also the really hard thing is understanding that like you have to let go of it too. Like if you're actually going to share in a project, maybe the most difficult thing is like relinquishing control.
Yes.
And understanding that like you have to have confidence in like the own things that you can bring to it, but you also have to have like kind of a blind confidence in the people that you're like, or trust in the people you're working with, because it's always going to be like really difficult to like maybe relinquish an idea you started with, or to see a song going in a direction that's not what you heard for it, and then you have to have that level of trust to know that like there's like a song starts with a little seed and there's so many different directions that it could go. There's no inherently correct way that it's going to end up, and so to trust the other people that they have a vision too, and like be able to follow along with that, it's really kind of indispensable. Otherwise, yeah, like you're never going to find those surprises that usually end up making like your favorite moments of a song or an album.
Let your baby go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really funny you said let your baby go, because our manager loves to use Kill Your Bees as like if a demo is being dragged out too long or something. But I think I was going to say kind of like a mixture of Gordon and Lincoln, but I think that like my advice, the biggest thing would be like not be afraid to kill your babies, but also not be afraid to stand up for them, because I think that like the hardest thing about collaboration is confrontation. But like if you're not confrontational when collaborating, then like a lot of things that you believe in don't get said, and I think that's like really uncomfortable. Like I know Lincoln and I will, like right before we left, I feel like Lincoln and I had like a couple tense song moments where we were like kind of fighting for our babies or whatever, and that's like uncomfortable, but you have to be like really okay with that uncomfortableness, the same way that like a relationship would happen, where like you have to be okay with fighting at each other to get past a problem, even if that argument or that situation is uncomfortable. You have to be like okay with that, because if you don't speak up, then you have a song that you're not happy with. So I think it's like really important to compromise, but also like not shy away from confrontation and like fight for the part of the song that you like or whatever, and I think that some of our favorite songs have been the parts where like we've had someone really fight for one part, or like Gordon like really wants to keep this bridge in, or Lincoln really wants to keep this weird post-chorus part in, and those make songs, if they weren't willing to fight for them.
Right.
And I feel the same way about like a lyric that didn't really matter to anyone else, but like I really wanted it in there because I thought it was, an important piece. I think that everyone fighting for their own puzzle piece is like important, or else it just would sound like one person's song instead of, you know, a band song.
And that's not what you start a band for.
It's true. It's
Generally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I love all those thoughts. I echo the same ideas. I have my own solo project. I'm in a super group, so you kind of have that duality there that I get to experience with, like, when do I let my baby go? When is it okay to just kind of trust in other people to, you know, carry you forward? It's a hard balance that, you know, it takes a lot of time to learn, and I'm glad that you guys are like aware of that.
Also, liking each other helps a lot.
Yeah. I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
don't ever start a band with people that you don't like, just that you don't enjoy their company with. It's just, yeah,
Just a poor choice.
terrible choice.
Terrible choice. Well, yeah, that's about all I got for today. Thank you guys so much.
No,
Thank
really,
you.
thanks for having us.
Of course.